Hi, everybody. I'm Jamie Soretta. I'm your host here on Jamie's Local Love, the podcast. We celebrate everything local in Arizona. And if you like hot sauce, you're going to love this guy right here. I want to introduce you to Jacob Cutino of Cutino Sauce Co.
Hello.
Hi, Jacob. Great to see you.
It's great to see you. Thank you for having me.
Happy 10 years in business.
I know. It's wild, right? It's just weird to hear. And happy 10 years to you as well on Local Love.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we kind of grew up together
Yep.
here in the community, and you had a different name when you first started. It was
Yeah.
Homeboys.
Yep.
What happened with the name change?
That was like the grassroots days. And, we going into business and trying to check all the boxes. And we had hired an attorney to kind of talk about the copyright stuff. And they said, hey, there's one other one that might be an issue, but I'm sure they'd just be okay to coexist. And so we're just here doing farmers markets. Well, then we got an opportunity with the YouTube series, The Hot Ones, and then that put us on a really big platform really quick. And then all of a sudden I got a love letter saying, hey, we might have some differences of opinion. And, we weren't in a place to have some kind of legal battle. And plus I just never liked that kind of karma. And they had a good cause as well. So it was a thing where we said, this is another part of growing in business. We're going to have to do this. At the time, I speak nonchalant now, but at the time it was like, oh God, it's going to all be over. And we were fortunate enough to build, especially here locally, and that's why I love what you do, is to build a community that really supported us, that really just embraced it through. And that really made it just so much easier on me. When you're, young and figuring these things out, it was like devastating at the time, but now it's something I talk about and push through. Yeah.
It was only a couple years into the business.
Yeah, it was like, it was just under 2 years in the business. And then that's when we had got with Chris, and he got involved to kind of help us steer the ship and started getting some more distribution and exposure. And it's just been great. And that was why also that happened at the same time. And, his thing was like, it's you, you're the sauce. And I talk about it, and it's your name. So he really sparked a lot of that direction on it. So.
And when we talk about Chris, we are talking about the man I like to call the godfather of the farmer's market,
Absolutely.
Chris Bianco. Because tell me about how you met Chris Bianco.
It was at the farmer's market. So I had known him from the industry, seeing him out and about, and we had a couple, fist bumps going down to the eatery while he's watching the Suns. And we just happened to be, it was a Wednesday at the farmer's market, and he was cruising around and trying. He's like, that's good stuff. He's like, yeah, bring it down to Pine. We'll sell some. It was just kind of casual, and I still didn't even know how to make an invoice at the point. I go home, I'm on PayPal, working out. I don't know. I'm doing tax. What am I doing? I'm looking everything up. Yeah. And he was our first retail account. So it's kind of ironic how it all kind of came back around.
Well, Chris Bianco is the great one to be your first resale account.
Yeah, you can't hit it further out of the park, and it's just it's amazing that it's been, that legacy is just one that honored to be following along the lineage of. So,
well, let's tell people who may not know what Cutino sauce is.
Okay, Cutino sauce is an all-natural, habanero-inspired hot sauce. And we say that because every recipe has a bit of habanero, and our original habanero actually has just habanero, and it's in lieu of Scotch bonnet, which is in my stepfather's original recipe, the family recipe, that was never given to me.
Wait. So we're back up.
Yep.
Okay, so Scotch bonnet?
Yep,
So
he did
what
a
is that?
Scotch bonnet hot sauce. So it's kind of like a habanero, but it's fruitier. It's more tropical. You get it. It's something you would have to more import. They don't grow in any climates here in the U.S. So, well, some people can specialty grow them in a greenhouse. So it's just basically like the sexier cousin of the habanero.
Okay, that's cool. I like it.
And he would always keep it in just a reused pickle jar or whatever in the refrigerator, and people would come by and they'd be like, you have hot sauce? You're like, you can try this, but don't put more than a couple drops because you'll ruin your food. It was just used to be so screaming hot. I used to ask him all the time, how do you make that? I love this. When I moved away from home, too, I was like, hey, I need that sauce, or send me some. And he just would never give it to me. And it was actually my wife, when we got engaged, she said, you have to find out how to make it. So she sent me the task, and then I started tinkering around, made some things that were good, some things that were not so great. And, then we just kind of one thing led to another with the development of it.
Did he give you the recipe?
To this day, no.
What does he think about this business that has blossomed out of this?
He's so supportive. He loves it. We always joke around, too. He's like, you took something I was watching I was doing and you turned it into something. I missed the boat. And my mom says, well, yours is better than his now, which is funny. So we tease about that.
So does he still make the sauce, or does he just order from you?
I just get it to him now.
Yeah.
I make it easier.
He's
on
free.
him.
Yeah, free customer.
He's getting old. He's retired now. He needs
Get some sauce.
Yeah, he needs the sauce effortlessly.
Yeah.
So and it was funny because his recipe was always raw and kept in the refrigerator, and that's how I started off. And then when we started doing our due diligence of like how do we make the product, we found out that you have to have a thermal process, and it's almost like a pasteurization. And we thought that was gonna ruin it, but it actually developed the flavor more, and it actually enhanced it and made a better sauce and made it what it is today. And that recipe, all those recipes that we did from research and development are still to this day made the same way, fresh ingredients, small batch, that we haven't ever got away from.
Yeah. And let's talk about the OG sauce, because that's the yellow one. It's an identifier. If you see it at restaurants, you see it on tables, you see it on the menu, you'll recognize that yellow one right out of the gate.
Absolutely. And that's why it has the actual black label on it, too. We thought the color was great in the beginning, and then we started doing the other ones. We said we should keep this separate because it was only 2 flavors. I started with jalapeno and habanero. So we said we needed something spicy and something mild. And actually, that's how jalapeno came about. I was at work one night and I had an epiphany, and I called Natalie and I said, "Hey, write this down and then get this started." And we had a little like sous vide, like slow cooker thing. We would blend and do that at first. Don't ask me why. I was trying to be chefy with it, but and she did it, and that's the same recipe to this day on that one too. So all serendipitous.
How many different flavors do you have now?
So in total, we have 11. So I have 10 of the small bottles and this table sauce here, which we'll get to. We have 4 what we call our core flavors. So it's jalapeno, habanero, verde, and chipotle. And then we have limiteds that rotate and seasonal. So we have the miso, which is, it's kind of a mainstay, very umami. You like miso soup, if you like, that real good umami funk, then that's the one for you. And it works great with like sushi, ramen, any of that kind of stuff plays great with it. And then we have a seasonal ghost. So ghost peppers, like Scotch bonnet, are very very finicky, only grow at a certain season, take a long time to grow. And it's like a 6-week season. So we get them fresh. We make it once a year, and then when it's gone, it's gone. And then we have 4 fruit flavors. We do mango, blueberry, strawberry, and pineapple.
Oh, wow.
We rotate those throughout the year.
So are those the fruity ones rather new, or am I just late to the game on that?
I think
it's been a while since we saw each other.
It's been a while, but they don't come out on a certain schedule, so we kind of keep it random. It's not like the pumpkin spice every year. So some people do miss it, and then sometimes just people just are like, oh, that one, like the mango will look like the habanero, or like strawberry looks like ghost or. So,
sneaky. Read the label.
You gotta stay involved. Keep people involved. So
you do have a new sauce though,
we do.
This is a table sauce.
Yes.
What is this?
This one was long overdue. So this is basically what we wanted to do for our friends in the restaurant industry, and it was something we were going to do before the pandemic, and it kind of got shelved. And we had so many great relationships with people who do amazing things here, and we wanted a way to be kind of in line with what the other big brands are doing, but have a local option, obviously. And so, jalapeno is kind of developed to be, because it's the most approachable, one of our more popular sauces. So this is kind of sort of based off of that recipe, but done in a fashion to more rival the larger scale kind of hot sauces, the kind of everyday use. So it's not too hot, good amount of flavor, good acidity, but it doesn't take over. Again, that's always our goal, is to enhance and not overwhelm.
Right.
So so that one you're going to find at local restaurants now. We have it moving around. It's at Arizona Wilderness, Huss Brewing. Speaking of our friend Bernie Kantak.
Hi, Bernie.
Hi, Bernie. Shout out to Bernie Kantak.
Yes.
He actually is using it at all 3 restaurants. It's at Gladly, Citizen Public House, and now Beginner's Luck. And both at Citizen and Gladly, they also make wings on the menus. You have some happy hour wings you can get with it. And
does it say with Cutino hot sauce? With Sauce
made with the table
Cutino
sauce.
Co? Does it say that?
Yeah, Cutino Sauce Co, Cutino hot sauce. I just kind of let people take it where they,
But does it feel like when you see your name on the menu like that?
It's flattering. It's wild. It's still surreal to this time. It's just kind of like, I almost just kind of, I take it in. It's like, oh, this is cool, but I try not to think of it too much because I'm like, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy, But it's cool. It's it definitely feels, it's a very proud thing, you know. And, if you haven't been in good spirits, which I know you have, you definitely need to go to one of those places. I don't say that just because he's my friend and just because they've supported us out of the gate, like, unbelievably. But I truly have never had less than a stellar experience, even, out going to see Bernie and say hello. So they do an amazing job, and they've are amazing support to local community.
Yeah,
so,
and also James Beard.
Yeah.
Semi-finalist right now, so we're waiting to find out if Chef Bernie gets to take one home.
I
But
know,
yeah, so
I
they're
know.
so not only kind and great in the community and offer a great product, but nationally recognized too. So
super, yeah. So
good
I'm
friends to have.
very fortunate to have friends like that. Yeah,
Were you in the hospitality business? What were you doing before the sauce?
Yeah, I was in the hospitality business. Well, I started originally like when I was 16. I worked at a Sizzler, bussing tables in Washington. Yeah,
in DC?
No, in Colorado.
Oh, in Colorado.
Yeah. So, and I was at True Food Kitchen here. So I started in the quarter and then moved down to Biltmore. I was with them for about 4 years. And then I had a little stint at Gallo Blanco with Doug Robeson. Shout out Doug Robeson.
Hi, Doug.
Yeah, I love Doug. And then I had a little stint at Bootleggers as well. Shout out Rick Phillips.
Yeah, hi, Rick. All our friends.
All the friends along
no wonder
the way.
we run into each other. All our buddies.
Exactly.
All good people, yeah.
And and then that whole time I was kind of developing the sauce. We bring it in there and let him try. I know Matt, I was like, Aaron May came by one time. He was like, no, that's pretty good. And then people started stealing it from the office. And so we're like, maybe we have something. And then kind of moved it on that way.
So were you a chef?
I was all over. So I worked front of house and back of house. So it just depended on the job. When I was younger, I was more back of house. And then, as I got older, people see me as a leader type. So I would always get shoved into kind of management.
Oh, poor guy.
Yeah. And then when I was with True Food, though, it was a very all-around thing. So it was good. It brought me back to kind of my kitchen roots. And the front house was very intertwined and involved on both.
What brought you to Arizona?
I was, what was I, about 30 years old, just kind of still wisping in the wind. I was, I'm a late bloomer of sorts. And I just was like, I think I'm ready for a change of pace. So packed up my car and moved overnight, stayed at a friend's couch for a few weeks.
Oh, wow.
And then just kind of grinded along. And then one thing led to another. Like I said, I spent about probably 5 or 6 of those years in the industry before meeting my wife a couple years later and then starting this.
Where'd you guys meet?
It's funny enough. So she doesn't go out. It's not the type to drink. We're polar opposites that way. Well, I don't really so much anywhere either. But she worked in Scottsdale. She had a business of an esthetician, and her and her mother had a business, and they shared a space. And she had a friend that came for a service, and they were like, "Oh, we don't get together. We should go over here and have a quick bite to eat." And it was at Salty Senoritas in Scottsdale. And I just happened to be, I was working 2 jobs at the time. I was Sunflower Market. I don't know if you when I very first moved here, that's where I was. I was in retail, actually.
Okay.
In Sunflower Market for, 6 or 7 months, I did receiving there. And then I would work at UPS seasonally at night, Monday through Friday. And then on the weekends, I would try to get some time. Yeah, I was going out actually looking for shoes. You wear 14, they're hard to come by with what you actually want sometimes, or the color you want. So, and I was out there, and then we sat next to each other, and I had to ask them if they knew the area, and then kind of went from there. That's
wonderful.
it. So
And you've been
we met
together
at a bar, but we never would have met at a bar.
You've been together for how long now?
15 years. We just celebrated in October.
And she helps with the business as well.
Yes. So she's like everything you've seen brand-wise. Her little sister actually worked with us. That was her first actually salary job for the first 4 years that we were in business. Well, from 17 to like 21, she was with us all through the pandemic as well. So she's done all the font you see on here, any of the photography, any of the design you see. She was the one who did that. She went to ASU.
Yeah, go Devils.
Go Devils. Herberger Design School, and she went for industrial design. Did some interning in New York and came back, and we were expecting Luna at the time, and she was like, I can help you guys. I want to be back home, closer to family. And then we brought her on, and she used to help me fill orders, make sauce. She's done everything. So it's like she was, grassroots with us as well. And so we were like a little 3-man weave of a team. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
Are you at the farmers markets anymore?
We're not at the farmers markets anymore. So it got to a point where, those that industry is it's something that you are doing to kind of figure yourself out. Like if I went to go back and do it all again, I would have started making things and going to the farmer's market and testing and trying things. Instead, I went all in and said, this is it. Here we go. And unfortunately, that worked out for me. But no, but we got to a point where we had about 5 markets, like all the big markets around, and we're doing them. But it becomes a whole nother business now, because that's the problem with being in a consumer packaged good business is now, as you start to scale, you start seeing what business you want to be in. Are you in sales and marketing? Are you in distribution? Are you in manufacturing? And there's people who stay in these lines of the industry for a reason. So, and you grow to a point where you have to say, do we outsource this?
Well, why go to the farmer's market when we can find your product at AJ's?
There you go.
I mean, congratulations. That's such a huge deal.
Yeah, it is. And they've been an amazing partner. Like, again, the local community, they're very hyper local, and they just they've been nothing but supportive. They just ran a whole ad for us for January, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about AJ's. It was a vast difference from like when we worked with Whole Foods. A very corporate, different feel. So, I mean, again, the local thing has just been so amazing. Like, that's where we really, a lot of this wouldn't happen without being involved in that sort of a community. And all the people I see now that are still thriving that we were starting at the same time, and it's just, it's something very special. And it's hard for me to explain, it's just kind of surreal to me. People have to remind me sometimes. It's pretty cool that I get to be involved with all the things I love and do something on a regular basis.
Are you at Whole Foods then?
We were for a stint, and then they changed some things when Amazon came around. We're at a few, but not as.
So where do we find you besides AJ's?
You can find us at small boutique retailers in the Valley. So I would say like your LGOs and Monsoon Market, Neighbor Market. I got to shout out the small markets.
Yes.
And then we also at some resorts. You'll see us at the Ondas and at the JW, Miraval. And
the Miraval? I mean, hello. Congratulations. That is as top end as you can be, right?
Yeah, so being in Flagstaff and in Tucson has been really big too. And our online presence grown a lot as well. So,
but what I love when I see you at the gift shops is it's presented like one of our local gems. Take this home with you. You know, the locals, we buy it too. But it's like, take this home with you. This is a piece of us here in Arizona. And that must feel so cool for you too.
That part is really wild. Because it's like when we first started, that was the thing that everybody asked me, like, oh, you going to put a cactus on it? Are you going to make it you're going to make it Southwest? And I was like, no, I want it to stand for what it is. And then I'll, if I can carve myself out a piece of that and be recognized from that, then there we'll go. And it's to this day, like now we also have like these 4-pack boxes in a display in the Arizona store in the airport. So like people are seeing us when they're coming and going. And I have people showing me pictures, and like family members will go through the airport, and it's very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Tell me about what the hardest challenge may have been along the way. Something that you said, I wish I'd seen that one coming. I would have done this differently.
Yeah, that's a good one. For one, the rebrand part would have been, we would have approached that differently just because that was really a big overhaul that we had to do. I think that, also with manufacturing the product, like if you want to build things for scale, you have to start with a prototype of what that's going to be. And what I've learned is that when you make something, that comes from the kitchen to craft, like, Jason Noble Bread or, these things that start, from in the garage and out, you can only get to a certain point of scale before you have to start changing. And that was one thing that we've always been a challenge, and kind of why we've kept it in-house and kept it what it is because that is what separates us, we feel, is in what is a vast kind of market now that's doubled over the last 10 years, is that we're still making it the old school way, and it reflects in the product. Using all fresh ingredients, we're making it like it's salsa, like we're cutting everything the day of, your peppers, your onions, your carrots, and then we're going right into the bottle. So, and we think that that's what it reflects, but it's a challenge, and that's kind of where we took everything we learned with that and put that towards this table sauce as well. And that's why this is actually in larger distribution as well. And we're learning as we go, but you can't abandon what has gotten you there either.
Right, no doubt. So this was something that you were cooking in like a pot in the kitchen when you started, right?
Well, for the first prototype I was, and then I went around and I looked for kitchens, and I found a real cranky old man on the west side that had a kitchen. Yeah, it's funny because it's the same one we're at, but it's shares a lot with a masonry business that he's owned for a long time. So they also do these like sandwiches out of there. It's a whole catering type business, but they had a hot sauce business for a while, and then they found it was just nothing but challenge after challenge, so they stopped doing it. So he did everything in his power to talk me out of it.
But he had everything you needed.
Everything
right?
I needed. And I came and I met with him. He's a super old school guy, and he still putzes around there to this day. I think he's like 80 years old now. And but he's always giving me advice, and like, you know, he was the one that really brought the realization, like, oh, you can't use all those fresh ingredients if you're going to scale your product up, or you can't do this, and you can't, you know, you're going to have to get your bottles printed instead of having a label, which is another big challenge. Wow. That was a really big challenge. I used to spend a lot of nights on Netflix and rolling clear labels, and if you don't know, glass is imperfect. So with clear labels, you get a lot of bubbles, and I was trying to be a perfectionist, and maddening. Let me tell you, maddening. So sometimes up to like 3 a.m, and then off to the market in the morning to sell the bottles, get home, and you know, still wrapping more. Because the label machine, we didn't know at the time before we printed off 50,000 labels that you had to have a check mark to have it not double feed, and that was another thing we learned the hard way too. So we had to do it manual for a while before we got, and then we found printing because we knew we didn't want to deal with labels eventually anyway, cleaner aesthetic, and so along that line. So
when you started selling, where was the first commercial kitchen that you moved into? Was it that one?
That one. And we're still here. To this day.
You're still with?
Still with them.
That cranky old man?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. It's
well,
nice
shout out to that guy.
It's nice because we have our days, we have our time cut off, and we have no one in our way. We don't share with anybody. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. We're grandfathered in at this point.
Oh, good. Yeah. So, what is a day like for you at manufacturing then?
So it's an early day. Usually about 5 a.m. I'm up, and then I get there by about 6. And then I have the first 2 hours of really the last little bit of prep, getting ready to what we call mash, which is weighing out all the peppers and dry ingredients and cambering up, and then we have a blending system, a vertical blending system. And before that, we're starting off with all of our acids and solid dry goods in the kettle. And we move those over, and then we're doing some blending. But that whole process is about 3 hours myself, and then I have other people come in at about 8:30. They help finish with cleanup, get the rest of the filling line set up. We have a heat tunnel and a capper. They get the glass broke out, holding kettle. So they get the whole thing staged, and then we go from there. It takes about 6 to 7 hours to cap and shrink and wrap up, run and repack.
Wow.
So, and that's a day.
And that's one day?
Yeah, one day. Yeah, it's about a 9-10 hour day.
So you can start to finish. For how many bottles, do you know?
Yeah, it's about 1,400
wow.
bottles. Yeah.
Oh,
so it's not a crazy amount, but you know, it's still it's a lot of manual, old school labor. So we put on some music, we talk about life events, and it's cool. I mean, everybody I've got's usually been. I mean, you can name it of any of these young chefs that are coming up that are, you know, getting notoriety now have worked with me at some point in time, which has been cool. And that's fun to see too, like Donald Hawk and Devin Cunningham. All those guys have spent some time in there pouring sauce with me.
Aww.
So, yeah, it's been fun to watch. And, I've always been able to be around people that are like-minded, you know, love food. And so we have great conversations, kind of helps the time go by, you know.
What would you tell someone who has some family recipe that they want to bring to the market?
I would say know your end goal. You know where you want to end up, because it's going to vastly change on how you approach it. You know, and how much do you want that family recipe to stay your family recipe?
Yeah.
You know, the farmer's market, obviously, I would recommend is the first step. But I would tell people start there before you really figure out where you want to go. At least you get a test of, let's get in front of some people. Let's figure out how to run invoices and you know, deal with getting all the permitting and, you know, just the basics of the business. And then, you know, see if they, you know, what kind of momentum they get, and then start thinking about, you know, if we do have an opportunity to grow this, and what does it look like, and how easy can I let go and change, you know, and go along with that.
Yeah.
Some people have a hard time with that.
Yeah, no doubt.
But I'd say do
it.
it.
Like
you know,
this.
Follow your passion, try it out, but do your due diligence. Don't let your emotion get ahead of your rational. Because it's always easy to think, oh, this is going to go great, that's going to go great. But the reality is you should be saying, how do I avoid this from happening, that from happening? Like, it's not to be pessimistic, but it is kind of worst case
Like
scenario.
problem solving before it happens.
If you love problem solving, start your own business. It's gonna be great.
You're going to be great at it. Well, should we do a little taste testing?
Sure.
Let's just try 3 of them.
Okay. Cool.
I brought, you know, we're very classy down in the newsroom. So this is just for my little personal snack.
So here's what we'll do.
Yes.
We'll warm you up with the
Okay.
table sauce. Since that's the mildest and that's
Okay.
the most approachable. We'll start with that. And then we'll move on to something a little hotter.
All right.
Oops.
This is something that we'd put on my eggs or maybe
Yep.
my taco.
Absolutely. Mix it in some ketchup for the kids. Make
Yum.
it zesty. Yeah. Anything with marinara.
So spicy.
Yeah.
A hot, I think of like a Spanish hot sauce.
Yeah, sort of like, definitely a very tomato
Yes.
base, and that comes through. It's really good. The number one thing is people say I love with eggs. So this is like a diner sauce that needs to be there. Yeah, great on wings as well. So
oh yeah, I can see that.
So now,
all right, where are we going next?
You're okay with the heat, right?
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm not gonna, and I'm not here to overwhelm anybody with heat anyway. We're gonna do the original.
I mean, come on, you know that's what we're here for.
Absolutely. So this one, mustard base. You get the fruit of the habanero up front. It's got some lemon juice in it, carrot, onion. You're welcome. And that's the heat's gonna kind of build afterward. Really good with anything frothy. Again, eggs is the number one thing people say they like to use it with. Fried chicken, honey is really good with that.
Honey? Put some honey with it?
Oh yeah, or you just put a little, like take some honey on your counter and just mix some of that in, and you have some.
Now that one I feel the heat.
Yep, that one's gonna have a little more, but not crazy.
No,
right?
not crazy enough to like make me feel alive.
Wake you up a little bit. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So,
I would always make this with my eggs. I went through a little phase where every single day I made myself. It was when I was on nights. The schedule changes, and so what I eat changes.
I don't know how you guys sleep anyway with those schedules, but anyway.
We didn't. But it was when I was on nights, and I would get the noble bread, that sourdough bread, and I would make myself like a nice fried egg, a little bit of your hot sauce. I do a little like spring green on top. Oh man, I thought I was a chef.
Oh yeah,
bon appetit every morning.
It was with the onion. That's great.
Yes, a little salt bay.
That's good.
All right, what's the last one you want to challenge me? Let's do a little challenge.
We'll do a challenge. Okay, we're gonna do the seasonal ghost sauce.
So, great, perfect.
Ghost pepper is by far my favorite chili.
It is.
It was available all the time. So the way I describe it is having a floral yet earthy sort of flavor. And then it definitely finishes kind of fruity.
Where does the ghost pepper come from? Where are you getting it from?
So I have a guy who grows them in Texas.
Oh, wow.
And he's actually a retired food scientist from Texas A&M in Galveston. Yeah, so
food scientist.
Yeah, and he has a whole greenhouse operation. They grow like specialty peppers for people, and I just met him. I randomly ran into somebody, and I was looking around because one year was a really bad year, and my other sources were out, and ended up finding out that a friend of mine went to college with his son.
Stop it.
Yeah, so weird.
Relationships.
Relationships. Yeah, so that's another big part.
Well, that's delicious because I didn't know if I would want the ghost pepper.
Yeah, so
I thought, I'll do it for the challenge.
You get that
but
really
that's
unique
yummy,
flavor, right?
Yes, and it's not too hot. You're not overwhelming me.
That heat's a little more delayed. Like the habanero's usually up front. That one's a little more like soothing, like you eat like hot soup.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Thank you.
You know I've always been a fan of your hot sauces, and your sauces are delicious. But let's talk about the relationships because I always ask people to fill out paperwork, and you credit your relationships to really helping support and build your business.
Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, I approach every relationship, whether it's somebody working for me or whether I'm sourcing ingredients or sourcing packaging, as that's kind of how I know which direction I'm going to go. I don't base everything on cost and price. Like there's a range, but can I work with somebody and do they value me like I value them? And it's been great to be able, because you have to put some energy for it to be like that as well, with your follow-up. And, a lot of people, sometimes you get frustrated and you may talk different about somebody without really thinking about it because you're being emotional. But I think it's really about just respecting people and it reciprocates. And it's been really nice. I have legitimate friendships with people that, for people who that print my glass to the guy who bakes my boxes, so.
Isn't that fun? Doesn't it make it just so much more fun? And even when you have a challenge or an issue, it's easier to overcome.
Yeah, and everybody kind of rallies and helps you out, and they get it. They don't judge you and go like, well, what were you thinking? It's like everyone makes mistakes, and let's just get it done. And that's been really nice. Like not every relationship always works out, but I mean, for the most part, as long as you foster them, they do help benefit you in the future. Yeah.
So coming up in spring for Cutino Sauce Co., we're going to see your table sauce on the table. What else are you guys working on over there?
We might have another thing showing up on the table soon, so I think we're going to be able to talk to that soon. There may be a dinner in a couple weeks here that we want to be talking about as well, and then another limited flavor actually I believe is slated for. So March is going to be a fun month.
Dropping teases over here.
Yeah. We'll give you something to look forward to, right?
Well, so looking back on 10 years, what's been a really big win for you?
You know, it was the very first day that we made the sauce. We went in there. It was me and another friend of mine that was helping me at the time.
In the kitchen? In that commercial kitchen?
I went in there. Well, I'd been in there, but I thought for some reason I would come in and he would have all this equipment set up and it would be like the whole line with everything going across like a bottling plant. And no, it was us around a table with a tabletop filler and the little bottles. The old grumpy old man had to come in and help us because we decided to do 2 flavors of one. There was another company that came in. We had to be out by 2. We were there from 6 in the morning till about 8 o'clock at night. And he's like, damn bottles, you need to get regular bottles. And his machine just couldn't fill these without having to top them off after. But we got home, got it done, and then we tried them both, and we started showing them to people, and everybody was like, this is amazing. And it was like, okay, all of that work and all of that sacrifice, and now we're here, and people are happy with it. And I can be proud of it.
It's going to be good.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. And it has been good for 10 years and growing. So congratulations. It's so great that we get to talk on our 10-year anniversary as we celebrate local love for 10. Yeah, thank you.
I can't salute you enough for what you do. I always try to throw a comment out when I see something there. But really, you've been a huge impact on a lot of small businesses and local businesses.
It has been my joy.
And again, this wouldn't have been without you. I mean, you've really been supporting that. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. So on your day off, what are we doing? What are you doing? How are you spending your time?
What's that? Well,
on a casual day off.
Yeah, if it's on a weekend, usually try to, get to the gym or maybe get a bike ride in and try to get some clarity. I take a walk with the family. I usually do those in the afternoon, though. Spending some time with the little one. I try to not be tuned into my phone too much. Or look at emails and cook, and my little one likes to jump in and help me here and there. Her attention span is that of a 6-year-old.
Yeah, well, she's 6.
Exactly. So we start off to the races good, and then she kind of fades, and then she goes back. And really just being able to spend some quality time with her and my wife, and we try to just kind of get regrounded because, usually on Mondays it all comes rushing again.
Life is busy.
It is busy, and you got to take time to appreciate your life and be grateful for what's around you. So that's really what that day is. It's really gaze around that, or we're going to see her family and spend some time with them. So it's really that's kind of my time off. Really nothing wild.
It sounds wonderful.
I'm a slow old guy now.
It sounds beautiful. Jacob, always great to see you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Jamie's Local Love, the podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Soretta. Our technician is Tom Heidinger. Our editors are Lorraine Shearing and Gina Coy. Do you know a business worthy of some local love? Email me at jsoretta@azfamily.com. Follow us at facebook.com/Soretta and Instagram @SorettaNews. Make sure to subscribe and give us a 5-star review, please. And tell your friends about the podcast and the businesses we feature to show your local love. You can find us on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and anywhere you get your podcasts.
Jamie's Local Love, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast.